bottom line is, man, it's hard to break us now. It's hard to break us. As a matter of fact, you ain't going to do it.
Open look going as he hits it. What a play called by Tom Izzo in that timeout.
I was 7 years old watching a football game by myself, and I saw those winged helmets come out of the tunnel, and I was hooked at that point.
Kane in Chicago! Oh my God! Kane with the overtime winner!
Jahmyr Gibbs to the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. You can't cover that man one-on-one. You just can't do it.
He drives, lobs to JD for a jam.
You play real good, you start. You don't play as good, you work your way back in. It's the American way, except America has gotten soft. But that is the American way. That's the way it works.
This is the 6'6" Kane Cunningham. Jameson Williams, he's got it. Touchdown, Lions. Now it's Larkin with a burst of speed. He scores. Gives the United States the lead for the first time tonight.
Well, Dylan Larkin didn't score yesterday, but the Red Wings scored enough to win in Nashville. Welcome, everybody, on a Tullymore Tuesday. We're brought to you by Mitch Lyons Wealth. Glad you're with us on X's and Bros. I'm Matt Shepard. The Meyer hotline is 866-838-4843. The text line is Sports Radio 21,000. You can always drop in a comment, too, if you're watching us on YouTube, on X, or on Facebook. Yeah, the Red Wings double up Nashville 4-2. Nice win for them, for sure. Albert Johansson scores the game winner shorthanded. Lucas Raymond, Alex DeBrincat each had a goal and an assist. Cam Talbot made 18 saves in relief of injured John Gibson. And the Red Wings get a much-needed win for certain there. Mo Sider started again. His active streak of 388 consecutive games played from the start of his career is the second longest in NHL history by a defenseman and by any player born outside North America. Ivan Provorov started 403 consecutive games. Sider is the only German defenseman ever picked in round one of an NHL draft and has never missed an NHL game. I'm not sure that's getting nearly enough pub, but NHL Public Relations tweeted that out yesterday about Mo Sider. Good for the Red Wings, good for us in general. Definitely needed, and it's a team that right now is we're all waiting to see if they can get to where we hope they will with somebody at the trade deadline. I was talking with a friend of mine last night, and he said, I just don't think they're going to make the big splash that everybody expects. They are linked to a lot of big names. Now, there's one name I don't necessarily want, even though the name is popular for people who follow hockey. Elias Pettersson is 27 years old. He's had some good years a couple years ago and strung together back-to-back really good seasons, but I think he's very similar to what they have right now. I think this team needs a little bit more of an edge. There are certain words we use in hockey. Sandpaper, plays in front of the net, scrappy, tough, gritty, those kinds of things. Yes, the word grit was used in hockey before Dan Campbell labeled it for the Detroit Lions, but I don't think Pettersson is that guy. I think you need a guy like Vinny Trocheck, who may not be big, but he plays really tough, really scrappy, really plays in those dirty areas that not many people are willing to go. So he's just one of those guys. I think Rob Thomas is one of those guys who isn't necessarily the same way, but he doesn't back down. He's not a finesse player. Sometimes I hate using that word because I think there's a lot of people who equate that to softness. Okay. And that's not necessarily the case by any stretch, but the Red Wings get the win now, 76 points, tied with Buffalo for second in the Eastern Conference. Yes, the same Buffalo team that started slowly, but has caught fire, has as many wins as the Red Wings, but one fewer loss. And they also have a game in hand on Detroit as well. So something to continue to monitor. You know this by now. The Lions have traded David Montgomery to Houston for a 4th-round pick, a 7th-rounder, and backup offensive lineman Juice Scruggs. It took place a little bit after we got off the air yesterday. Huge talked a lot about it yesterday afternoon. We'll pick up the conversation here this morning. They have also released center Graham Glasnow. saving $5.5 million against the cap. Pistons are going to visit Cleveland tonight. It's the second meeting in 5 days. Detroit won in overtime on Friday night and has won 10 of 11 on the road. They're 21-7 away from LCA. The Cavs, in the meantime, have won 7 of 10 overall, but they sit 8.5 games back of the Pistons in the division and the conference. Nobody, I don't think, who watches the Pistons on a regular basis is concerned on whether or not Detroit can win the division or let alone win the conference. But I think there are more and more people who are starting to show some concern about whether or not this team can win it all, considering their three-point shooting is less than. Last 4 games, they are shooting 21.5% from 3. 21.5%. It's not Jalen Duren's fault. He has been named the Eastern Conference Player of the Week. He's averaged 26 points and 14 rebounds while shooting 64% from the floor. Tigers fall to the Braves 5-2. You know, at some point, maybe people will start to care a little bit more about spring training records. I don't. I think it's more about, how certain individuals are getting in that rhythm. And remember, I mean, they haven't played a lot of games just yet. All right. It's only been a couple of weeks. So I don't think this is one of those things that carries over necessarily into the regular season at this stage. At some point, a little bit later on, maybe a couple of weeks from now, if it's the continuing problems that they're experiencing, then, maybe there's a reason to get some concern. You look at certain individuals. Yesterday, you look at Framber Valdez. He throws 3 scoreless innings. He allowed 3 hits. He struck out 12, and he threw 30 of his 43 pitches for strikes. That's pretty damn good. You'd absolutely take that, and this is a guy, as I've said before, this is a ground ball pitcher. He's an efficient pitcher. Okay. He's a guy who is, he's going to allow you to put the ball in play. I said he struck out 12, but he struck out 3. He's faced 12 batters. He's going to they're going to put the ball in play. He doesn't strike out a ton. All right. But he's around the plate. And he doesn't walk anybody. And he didn't walk anybody yesterday. So that's good news. Team USA opens today in the World Baseball Classic. Really looking forward to this. If you look at their lineup, I don't know exactly how this is going to go. All right. But Kyle Schwarber, in all likelihood, I mean, he leads off for the Phillies. He's pretty damn good at it, even though he strikes out a lot. He hits a lot of bombs. He's the designated hitter. Aaron Judge is the captain of the team. He's in right field. He addressed the team yesterday. Cal Raleigh led the league in home runs. He's going to bat third. Bobby Witt Jr. is the shortstop. Bryce Harper's at first base. With Bryce Harper back cleanup, you probably going to go lefty, although Riley's a switch hitter, so I don't suppose that matters. So you got left, right, switch. Bobby Witt Jr. could hit fourth. He could hit third. I don't know. He's a righty. Bryce Harper is a lefty. Byron Buxton's in center field. He's a righty. Gunnar Henderson's at second base. Alex Bregman is at third base. I don't know. Roman Anthony in left field, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. But I'm looking forward to watching Team USA and see if the hockey team's thirst for gold and their brotherhood is a little bit of a carryover for Team USA baseball. Here's the Mitch Lyons Wealth poll question. Do you like the Lions trade of David Montgomery to Houston? It's as simple as that. You get a fourth, you get a seventh, and you get a backup offensive lineman who will play the final year of his rookie deal. If you follow, sometimes there's a tracker that says this player for this type of return. And it's supposed to be a 5th round pick. And yet Brad Holmes was able to get a 4th, a 7th, and a player. And I know you're like, Juice Scruggs, never heard of. No offense, everybody. A lot of us have not heard of a lot of offensive linemen. Okay. Because it's just not something. You don't play offensive linemen in fantasy flipping football, do you? So he's got a lot of starts under his belt. Well, he's got a lot of games under his belt. Let's put it that way. At a lot of different positions. And you need guys like that. No Glasnow, no Dan Skipper. You're going to miss some certain guys. This is a good get for Brad Holmes, especially the 4th round. Anyway, you can vote as often as you want. I'm not trying to influence you. It's a yes or no. Do you like the trade? We'll put it out on XB Mornings and at ShepMat, and we will get the results tomorrow in the 8 o'clock hour. This is X's and Bros on a Tell Me More Tuesday, brought to you by Mitch Lyons Wealth.
You've worked hard for decades saving in pre-tax retirement plans like 401ks and IRAs, saving on taxes now. But as your retirement now approaches, you're going to get taxed at rates you have no control over. Hi, I'm Mitch Lyons, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth. Your 401k balance isn't worth what your statement says. You could lose thousands of dollars to taxes, and those distributions can impact other areas of your retirement like Social Security and Medicare. Could a Roth IRA conversion be of help to you? You've probably heard of Roth conversions, but it can be confusing. Should you convert all at once or over time? Where should you pay the taxes from? How do you know for sure? Get our free personalized Roth Blueprint analysis today to find out exactly what makes sense for you. Your Roth Blueprint could potentially increase your lifetime wealth by thousands of dollars. So get your free Roth Blueprint today. Text Blueprint to 844-867-8335. That's Blueprint to 844-867-8335. Or go to MitchLyonsWealth.com, your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement.
Avelo Air knows how much you love the Tigers. They love them too. They want to help you get to spring training in Lakeland because it is an awesome time. They fly nonstop from Grand Rapids to Lakeland Thursdays and Sundays, and nonstop from Detroit to Lakeland Wednesdays and Saturdays. Everyday low fares and reliable service. You don't want to fly anywhere else. Book your trip to Lakeland on AveloAir.com and use the promo code HUGE for $20 off a round-trip base fare when you book by March 31st. Restrictions do apply.
Make sure you listen weekly to our Moving Ferris Forward interviews with Ferris President Bill Pink and other leaders who are moving Ferris forward. Find out more about Big Rapids and Ferris and what they have to offer at ferris.edu.
Saw this one, the latest from fielding to 68. We were talking about this yesterday, just real quick. We were mentioning the ones being for sure Duke will be the overall one, Michigan, Arizona, and then we wondered a little bit about the fourth. They've got UConn. The twos they indicate would be Iowa State. Makes sense. They could easily challenge one. Houston makes sense. Florida's rolling. I think they've won 5 in a row. And they've got Illinois, which is surprising a little bit. The 3 seed, and this is where I said MSU would fall, and MSU they have as a 3 seed. They also have Nebraska, Purdue, and Texas Tech. And my original thought was it might be one rung too high for Purdue. Maybe they're a 4 seed instead. But then when you look at the 4s, Purdue has had a better resume for the most part, I think. I mean, I suppose you could duke it out a little bit with Gonzaga, but they've got Alabama, Kansas, Gonzaga, and Virginia as the 4s. So again, nothing final, obviously. Still a ways to go, especially with the postseason conference tournaments, but just wanted to give you a quick heads up.
Three Big Ten teams on the 3 line would be wild.
Yeah.
Not that it really matters, but that's
very
just
strange.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very, very strange. Right. The David Montgomery trade. What do we know about juice drugs? Before we get into that, there are teams that are, Devin Lloyd is supposed to be let go by Jacksonville, and he was a all-pro in 2025. You got a lot of teams trying whatever they can to save money, okay? And it seems like Miami has gutted their entire team. Liam Eichenberg, who missed all of last year due to an injury, okay, but is a very versatile offensive lineman, has been cut by Miami. He's played all 5 positions on the offensive line for the Dolphins. He took 964 snaps in his career at left guard. He's taken over 700 snaps at center. He's taken over 650 snaps at right guard, and he's taken 1,100 snaps at right tackle. And then the least is left tackle, where he's taken about 165 snaps. So they have released him, who, like I said, a former second-round pick who started 52 games over the last 4 years for Miami, or previous 4 years before missing last year. There are guys available if you cannot get the type of player you want in the draft. There are guys available. Now, you have to make that decision in all likelihood before the draft. But there are a lot of people starting to panic a little bit, because the Lions have about 20 free agents, okay? They've already said goodbye to Glasnow. They've already said goodbye to David Montgomery. And you feel like you don't have a team yet. They're going to field, 54 guys. They're going to still be able to dress 48 on Sunday, all right? But when people talk about what you get in return for certain things, this is a good return as far as I'm concerned for Brad Holmes. How good? We don't know until he makes the picks. And Detroit's got plenty of draft capital. They don't have the 3rd rounder you'd like. And I understand, he has, I don't like what he did a year ago. Okay. I like Isaac Tesla. Giving up as much as he did, you could make the argument it was too much. Okay. But right now, Detroit has the first round pick. So 17 overall. And NFL personnel go by the number, not the round. They go, we've got 17, we've got 50. They don't look at the round. You and I look at the round. So they've got a 1st round pick. They've got a 2nd round pick. They have 2 4th round picks, their own at 118, and then the Texans at 128. They have a 5th round pick, 155. Then they have 3 6th round picks and 2 7th round picks. Now, you may shake your head and you may say, 6th and 7th round picks, how good can they really be? And I understand where that mindset comes from. I do. But what you can do is you can then use a culmination of those, take a 7th, take a 6th, and move up in the draft. And that's where I think it's very, very important when it comes to this stuff. You don't not that you don't need all these picks, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 picks in the NFL draft. Not that you necessarily need them all for an individual, but you could use some of them to move up to get to the individual you desperately want. In the meantime, we know what the weakness of this team has been. And it hasn't been just the offensive line. It's been in the trenches. It's been the offensive line and the defensive line. All right? Because you're lacking depth and you're lacking some playmakers there. I don't know if Juice Scruggs is going to be a playmaker. And no offense, you don't either. He was a former second-round pick out of Penn State. Here's what we do know, okay? In 2025, he played 350 snaps at left guard, didn't allow a sack. I would caution you. This is not an automatic here, okay? He only played 30% of the snaps last year for Houston on a bad offensive line. That's a bad offensive line. So when people say, I hope Montgomery comes back and kicks our ass and all these other things, I would remind you of this. Houston traded 2 offensive linemen yesterday, but they were number 32. Out of 32 teams in the National Football League, they were dead last in run block win rate. Run block win rate. In 2024, if you think it's just an isolated case, in 2024, they ranked 31st in run block win rate. It doesn't get any worse than that, okay? He was healthy in 2024. And I saw people say, well, he started 13 games for the Texans. You realize that Drew Petzing, one of the things that they really liked about him was, hey, they were committed to the run game in Arizona. He's a run guy. That's why Mike Kafka's brought on as the passing coordinator. Not that Drew Petzing's not going to have anything to do with the pass game, but his specialty, from what we can deduct, is the run game. And yet, here's a guy who is now taking on an offensive lineman who was part of a unit, yes, I said unit, that ranked 31st and 32nd in each of the last 2 years in run block win rate. Montgomery's going to be 29 years old, and he's going to play behind one of the worst offensive lines in football. So it's not that I don't wish him well. I do. I wish him great success in Houston. Detroit won't play them, so it doesn't matter to me. Makes it a little bit easier, right? It does. It makes it easier that he's going to the AFC South. If he goes to the NFC North, if he went someplace else, oh my gosh, how would people feel about him? Remember, couldn't stand Ben Johnson because he actually went to a team within the division. How hypocritical were we? We forget David Montgomery did the same thing, went from Chicago to Detroit, only it benefited us. Here's how good it was for Brad Holmes to do what he's done, okay? Since 2023, some of the running back trade compensation. You ready? David Montgomery, 4th and 7th in a player, all right? And Juice Scruggs will make this team in all likelihood. He'll just make it probably as a backup. Tank Bigsby went for a 5th and 6th. That's a win for Brad Holmes, right? Brian Robinson went for a 6th. It's a win for Brad Holmes. Khalil Herbert, 7th. Win for Brad Holmes. Cam Akers went for a 7th and 6th. Win for Brad Holmes. Joe Mixon went for a 7th round pick. It's a win for Brad Holmes. Cam Akers went for a 7th and 6th round pick. DeAndre Swift went for 2 7ths and a 4th. It's a win for Brad Holmes. He got more out of David Montgomery than I think most people would have expected, and probably more than anybody else has gotten for a running back since 2023. We'll take a quick time out. Yesterday, somebody said the Lions have now become soft because they lose David Montgomery. Seems like a pretty odd statement. We'll talk about that on the other side. You're watching and listening to X's and Bros throughout the great state of Michigan on a Tullymore Tuesday, and we're brought to you by Mitchell Lands Wealth.
Hear that? That's the sound of saving a good deal more when you shop with M-Perks at Meijer. Some delicious Cosmic Crisp apples, money saved. Meijer Essential Paper Towels, that's money saved. Savings, savings, savings. Because every dollar spent is also points earned in M-Perks, which you can use to save on your next grocery trip or up to $1 off per gallon on your next tank of gas. At Meijer, we work hard to help you save a good deal more for a whole lot less. That's bringing more good to life. Exclusions apply. See mperks.com for details.
Huge here for Josh Garvey and his team at Dorn Mayhew, West Michigan. Now, they continue to grow. They got their worldwide headquarters in Troy, Michigan, on the east side of the state. They are worldwide. They are the leaders when it comes to accounting, CPA, and business needs. Simple and easy. Just Google Dorn Mayhew. And also, Josh Garvey joins me every Tuesday as we talk hoops with former Michigan and Cleveland Cavaliers head coach John Beilein. Tuesdays, 5 p.m., Josh Garvey, Coach Beilein, and myself, we talk Michigan, Michigan State, and the Pistons. Talking hoops happens all the way through the NBA Finals. And could you imagine if the Pistons are in the NBA Finals? If you ever have a hoops question for us, you can drop it at Huge Show on Twitter, The Huge Show on Facebook, and Talking Hoops every Tuesday at 5 p.m., presented by one of the world's top accounting, CPA, and business firms, Dorn Mayhew.
Ferris Coffee has been family owned and operated for over 100 years. Its popular Den Blend and Dark Roast is more than coffee and more than the official coffee of the Detroit Lions. It's a call to rise. Ferris Coffee and the Lions are the perfect match. They embrace those who show up early, cheer loud, and never back down. Den Blend is perfectly roasted in Grand Rapids and provides the ultimate fuel for fans who wake up and roar. Whether you're tailgating at the game or cheering from your couch, Den Blend is your go-to coffee for your game day ritual.
The Michigan Sports Network is your exclusive home for X's and Bros with Matt Shepard and The Huge Show later today at 3 p.m.
I had a choice to make. Go in that facility and figure out what you're going to do to ensure yourself a chance here, or you going to be like everybody else back at home. I know I had an opportunity in front of me, and I've never been the biggest, never been the fastest, never been the strongest. I've never been the top guy. I'm cool with that, though. I'm cool with that because I know who I am. I'm fearless.
That's David Montgomery. Good stuff right there from kind of the on this during the season type of feel moment with David Montgomery, who now is a Houston Texan. Wrote a really nice letter to Lions fans. I think the passion he has for the city and the fan base primarily, and the fan base has for him was real. And it's amazing, it really is. I mean, if you think about it, he spent 3 years here. That's it. And he spent a couple of years injured. I mean, he missed a couple of, I shouldn't, not the whole season, but his first year here, he's played 14. So he missed a few games with injury. The second year, 14 games, missed a couple of games with injury. Last year, didn't start any games, but played in every single game. Everybody would admit, though, after the injury, he's a different player. Okay? I have no problem making this move. Now, there are some people, I'm sure, who have a serious problem with it because, A, it's the Lions, and now suddenly you've lost, I think you've lost some trust and hope in Brad Holmes. I do. I think, when did it start? It's a good question. Not addressing some needs at the trade deadline hurt him this past year and the year before, even though he went and got Zadarius Smith. I think 2 years ago, the draft of 2024 really hurt him. Because when Terrion Arnold is getting hurt and has some problems off the field, and Enos Rakestraw gets hurt and hasn't played, I mean, those are really difficult things to overcome. This is where I think you lose a fan base. And I think it's also a situation, too. Keep this in mind now. This is a guy who has had some success with some draft picks, but spoke glowingly about others. And then you wonder why and how they use them the way they do. And giving up draft capital. Not that you've lost complete trust in him, but you have, I think a lot of people have lost quite a bit. And it's too bad because he had a lot going for him in that regard. He can get it back. There's no question. But I think there's when you look at the second round picks through Brad Holmes, people have issues with it. As far as David Montgomery is concerned, we remember that he started that game against Washington in the playoffs. And people had a serious issue with it, as did I. I would remind you, it's not like he was used as a bell cow in that game, but he did carry it 7 times for 28 yards, while Jahmyr Gibbs carried it, 14 times for 105 yards against Washington. That's, as we all know, that's the second round, Detroit's first playoff game. It was 45-31. The turnovers were massive. And it is interesting to me that, everybody focuses on the Jared Goff turnover, but the year before against San Francisco, people conveniently forget Jahmyr Gibbs fumbled in the second half against the Niners and really kind of opened the door for the Niners to stage the comeback, or finish off the comeback, if you will. So nobody remembers that, though. Why not? Well, because Jahmyr Gibbs is really good, and we don't see many flaws in him, whereas Jared Goff is really good, but we see all the flaws in him and his inability to run and so on and so forth. Let me get to a text here real quick. But David Montgomery, by the way, he did a really nice letter to the city of Detroit and to Lions fans from our friends Freddie. And this is a really good question. Shep, pick your favorite. Freddie's he's a sports radio guy. Pick your favorite 2 over a 3-year period on offense and defense. This is not an easy question, and yet he's thinking, man. Offense, Scott Mitchell and Herman Moore. Nope. Matthew Stafford and Calvin Johnson. Yep. Jared Goff, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'd take Stafford, and Johnson. Now, they didn't have the success that Goff and St. Brown has had. Stafford's a Hall of Famer. Calvin Johnson's Hall of Famer. So if we're talking about players, that's it. I think the edge goes in both cases to the quarterback and the wide receiver. If you told me you had to have Goff and St. Brown, I sure wouldn't cry about it because love them both, but different players. But that's what I would take. On defense, Spielman and Blades, tugging at my heart a little bit. Sue and Levy, or Hutch and Jack Campbell. This is a really good one. I think Ndamukong Suh is seen as the best defensive tackle of his era, or while he was playing in Detroit anyway. DeAndre Levy was pretty good. I don't think anyone would say he's an elite linebacker. Whereas I think right now, when you've got Hutchinson, who's viewed as a top 5 or 6 defensive end, Jack Campbell seen as a top 3 linebacker, I might side with Hutchinson and Campbell, to be honest with you. Even though I love Chris Spielman, you know that. Shep, to me, the trade was not good or bad. To me, it's an indictment on the organization that I will be watching, because this is a team that extended Montgomery, then used him less after starting him in the Washington playoff game, not Gibbs. Again, how much did that matter? Well, from a sign standpoint, you starting him may have caused a few eyebrows to be raised. Was starting him the reason they lost? No. That is a respect factor. I'm going to start you. I'm going to show people that you're okay. And so he clearly wasn't. Again, it's not like he toted the rock a ton. It's not like he wouldn't, they didn't get him out of there. It's not like he was the focal point of the offense. But I understand why people were upset about it. Do we ever know the answer if Ragnow fell out of favor with the organization, or was it just the body that gave out? Fair questions. That's not a fair question. If he fell out of favor with the organization, why would he stage a comeback? He'd want to stay away, right? So, no, I don't think that has anything to do with it. Kind of ironic. Raymond woke up yesterday and scored almost a second time. Yes, he get assists, but he's highly paid. When was his last goal? So he's referring to Lucas Raymond, who scored and assisted yesterday. It's his 20th goal of the year. His previous goal was against Colorado 5 games ago. It seems like a long time because of the Olympic break. He led Team Sweden in points, and he was second in the Olympics in points, I believe, to Connor McDavid. Maybe he was third. Macklin Celebrini might have been second. But I think it's a really good point. He's got 20 goals, and we celebrate Lucas Raymond like he's a superstar. I like him. This is not an indictment on him, okay? I like him. I would just remind you that, he's got 20 goals, the same as Zach Werenski, who's a hell of a defenseman for Columbus. Matthew Schaefer is 18 years old. He's the number 1 defenseman on the New York Islanders. He was the number 1 pick in the draft, in case people don't know. He's got 20 goals. Okay? This team doesn't have enough goal scorers. Plain and simple. It's not hard to figure that out. Okay? Marco Kasper, everyone's like, oh my God, you can't trade Marco Kasper. Why not? He's got, 7 goals? Simon Edvinsson has more goals than Marco Kasper? Are you kidding me? When Todd McClellan yesterday or 2 days ago is talking about we've got too many guys just wearing jerseys, I think one of those guys is Marco Kasper, the guy that nobody wanted to touch a year ago because of supposedly how good he is. He has 6 goals and 9 assists. That's it. He's played 60 games. He's got 15 points, and he's a minus 16 on the year. Minus 10, excuse me. Really? Sidney Crosby's hurt and 38, but he's got 27 goals. John Tavares is 38, and he's got 22 goals. I mean, I like Lucas Raymond. This is not a knock on Lucas Raymond, okay? He leads the team in points with 64. This team has way too many guys who are just, There's nobody who jumps out at you. There's not many coaches on opposing NHL benches, for as good as the Red Wings have been this year, are going, man, if we only had that guy, he's the missing piece. Raymond, DeBrincat, Larkin, okay. Mo Sider, I like Edvinsson, okay. Edvinsson's been good. There's a limited number. Larkin scores. He's got 28 goals. That's pretty good, okay. You'll take that. He's going to score over 30 again. You'll take that every single day of the week. Raymond is probably more of a distributor, but that's why so many people are suggesting the Red Wings need a top 6 forward. They need somebody who can score. It's a hard combo to find. The guy who can really score but also plays with an edge. And Detroit doesn't have that. They may have a scorer in Larkin and DeBrincat for sure. DeBrincat's got 31 goals. Love that. Absolutely. That's what he is. They need another guy similar to that. But I think there's a lot of people who look at Lucas Raymond and they're thinking, this is a guy who's similar to, to Sidney Crosby and, not all time, don't get me wrong, but his game because of his ability to distribute and things of that nature. And I'm like, well, hold on a second. Okay. Sidney Crosby, first of all, he's the best two-way center in the world. And second of all, if you look at his career, it's a Hall of Fame career. There's no doubt. But Sidney Crosby's, 103 points, 109 points, 102 points, 104 points, 84 points, and a down year. Lucas Raymond's good year is 80 points. So I think it's a fair critique of Lucas Raymond. Not saying he's not a top 6 forward. He is. He's probably a top 6 forward on a lot of really good teams in the NHL. He's a first-line guy for the Red Wings who's got 20 goals. Okay. I want scoring. I need more scoring. This team needs more scoring. Shep, this team has gone soft. They went from the draft night stage feeling themselves to the top of the world watching and signing their guys who never won. Organization never won, to unraveling it every way since that very night. I don't see how it's gone soft. So somebody said this yesterday too. When they said, now that they've gotten rid of David Montgomery, this is a team that's rather soft. And I think the belief is what? Well, Jahmyr Gibbs isn't a big, strong guy. He's not 6'2", 210 pounds. Jahmyr Gibbs is seen as a guy who gets flexed, and big guys like Derrick Henry don't get flexed, which isn't necessarily true. Every once in a while they do. But he's primarily, I'm going to line up 7 yards from the line of scrimmage, and I'm going to, try to run you over. I would remind people of this, and I looked this up yesterday when somebody sent that to me. I'm like, well, hold on a second. And I know this isn't the be-all, end-all, okay? But David Montgomery, or I should say Jahmyr Gibbs, was 12th in the league last year, according to a website called summersports.com, which is a player statistics in the NFL. If you look at yards after contact, yak, Jahmyr Gibbs is 12th in the league, 739 yards after contact. Jonathan Taylor's number 1, Bijan Robinson number 2, Derrick Henry number 3, James Cook number 4, Devon Achant number 5, Christian McCaffrey, Javonte Williams, Ashton Genty, Kyron Williams, Travis Etienne, Tony Pollard, then Jahmyr Gibbs. I know there's some names ahead that make you go, that's a little strange. Why can't you beat this guy out for that type of statistic? How many of those guys are sharing as much time as Jahmyr Gibbs was with David Montgomery and so on and so forth? I don't know the answer to that. I don't know how this team has gotten soft. Do you think Amon-Ra St. Brown's a tough dude? Because I do. I think Sam Laporta's a tough dude. I think Penei Sewell's a tough dude. I think Taylor Decker's a tough dude. I think Jared Goff's a tough dude. I think Jack Campbell's a beast. I think Aiden Hutchins a tough dude. I think, when healthy, Brian Branch is an absolute beast. I don't see how they've gotten soft. Maybe the texter means a mindset from the organization. Well, I think the organization, at least on the surface, drafted guys they thought were going to be tough. I mean, I think Tate Ratledge is a pretty tough dude, man, at the right guard position. Now, maybe some people feel like if you're not able to run the football as effectively as they should be able to, if they're not winning at the line of scrimmage, okay, I'm trying to give a little bit of leeway here to the texter, a little bit of leeway with knowing that Detroit was viewed as one of the toughest teams in football a couple of years ago because of the trenches. I would agree with you that they are not as dominant at the LOS. I agree 100% with that. I don't think that makes them necessarily soft. I think there are certain guys that just haven't been good. Williams, yes, last year as a first-round pick, Tyleik Williams, was not as good as he needed to be a first-round choice. So I agree with that. Christian Mahogany was not good enough. Graham Glasgow, not good enough. I'm not going to disagree with any of that. That doesn't mean I'm going to categorize them soft. Shep, if I'm wrong, go back from today to that Thursday night draft in 2024 on that stage when they announced Terrion Arnold. Only one guy has been real, Dan Campbell. Well, it's really hard to argue with you on that. It is. I mean, that's why I said, I think that goes back to exactly what I was talking about with Brad Holmes, why people have lost trust in him. It has. I mean, when you look at why this team or why this fan base has said the Detroit Lions are descending and they lack belief is because Terrion Arnold has not worked out. Enos Rakestraw has played 8 games. That's it in 2 years. Giovanni Manu was not good at the left tackle position. Sione Vaki has played primarily special teams. I actually like him. I think he does a good job for his role. Can he take an elevated role? That remains to be seen. But I think Sione Vaki was a decent pick at 4th. Makai Wingo hasn't worked out, and Christian Mahogany was just there. No road grader there. So as good as the 2023 draft class was, the 2024 draft class, if you graded it right now, would be the equivalent in a negative way. Nobody can really argue that. You may say they deserve more road, a little bit more runway, but then you have to ask yourself, how much? If you're not making an impact in 2 years, how much more runway do you truly deserve? Phone number on the Meyer hotline is 866-838-4843. Our text line is Sports Radio 21,000. This is a Tullymore Tuesday, and we're brought to you by Mitch Lyons Wealth.
You've worked hard for decades saving in pre-tax retirement plans like 401ks and IRAs, saving on taxes now. But as your retirement now approaches, you're going to get taxed at rates you have no control over. Hi, I'm Mitch Lyons, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth. Your 401k balance isn't worth what your statement says. You could lose thousands of dollars to taxes, and those distributions can impact other areas of your retirement like Social Security and Medicare. Could a Roth IRA conversion be of help to you? You've probably heard of Roth conversions, but it can be confusing. Should you convert all at once or over time? Where should you pay the taxes from? How do you know for sure? Get our free personalized Roth Blueprint analysis today to find out exactly what makes sense for you. Your Roth Blueprint could potentially increase your lifetime wealth by thousands of dollars. So get your free Roth Blueprint today. Text Blueprint to 844-867-8335. That's Blueprint to 844-867-8335. Or go to MitchLyonsWealth.com, your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement.
Lake Michigan Credit Union is proud to be the official sponsor of Detroit Tigers spring training. Get to the ballpark today and enjoy family fun. LMCU is providing tickets to winners who enter our Tigers Tuesday contest. Text the word Tigers to 21,000 and register for tickets today. And listen to The Huge Show to see if you're a winner. It's brought to you by our friends at LMCU. You'll love banking there.
Hear that? That's the sound of saving a good deal more when you shop with M-Perks at Meijer. Some delicious Cosmic Crisp apples, money saved. Meijer Essential Paper Towels, that's money saved. Savings, savings, savings. Because every dollar spent is also points earned in M-Perks, which you can use to save on your next grocery trip or up to $1 off per gallon on your next tank of gas. At Meijer, we work hard to help you save a good deal more for a whole lot less. That's bringing more good to life. Exclusions apply. See mperks.com for details.
Huge here for the annual Grand Rapids Griffins Purple Community Game, which is coming up on Friday, March 13th at Van Andel Arena in downtown GR. It's a night dedicated to supporting research into diseases like cancer and Parkinson's at Van Andel Institute. The Griffins will be taking on the Milwaukee Admirals in special purple jerseys, and you'll have a chance to bid on a limited edition purple jersey of your own after the game. It's a night you won't want to miss. Learn more about the Grand Rapids Griffins Purple Community Game at vai.org/events and also at griffinshockey.com.
Avelo Air knows how much you love the Tigers. They love them too. They want to help you get to spring training in Lakeland because it is an awesome time. They fly nonstop from Grand Rapids to Lakeland Thursdays and Sundays, and nonstop from Detroit to Lakeland Wednesdays and Saturdays. Everyday low fares and reliable service. You don't want to fly anywhere else. Book your trip to Lakeland on AveloAir.com and use the promo code HUGE for $20 off a round-trip base fare when you book by March 31st. Restrictions do apply.
You're listening to X's and Bros with Matt Shepard on the Michigan Sports Network. We'll be right back after this break, but while you're waiting, be sure to vote on our daily poll question presented by MitchLyonsWealth.com at XB Mornings on X.
Second hour of the program on a Tullymore Tuesday. We're brought to you this hour by Meyer. Welcome back, X's and Bros, Monday through Friday, 6 until 9. Throughout the great state of Michigan, Lions have traded David Montgomery to Houston for a 4th, a 7th, and a backup offensive lineman, Juice Scruggs. They've also released Graham Glasnow. Red Wings answer the bell in a strong way, doubling up Nashville 4-2. Lucas Raymond, Alex DeBrincat, each with a couple of points. Cam Talbot came in to make 18 saves and replacing John Gibson, who was injured. Pistons are going to visit Cleveland tonight. The Cavs have won 7 of 10. Detroit beat them earlier this year. It was Friday night in overtime. That created a little bit of a stir because Cleveland was a team that, well, they were playing shorthanded. No Donovan Mitchell, no James Harden. Harden with a thumb, Mitchell with a groin, and yet they gave Detroit everything they could handle. And those are the games, along with the OKC game, all right? So you had 3 games, and we can't complain about wins very often, all right? Love what this team has done, with 45 wins, number 1 seed overall. Cade Cunningham, I think, is the MVP. J.B. Bickerstaff, I think, is the coach of the year. I'm not saying that because it's Detroit. I'm saying that because I truly feel that way, all right? But when people start to question this team, and it's okay, people have questioned OKC, people have questioned San Antonio, people have questioned Cleveland, who won 64 games a year ago, people have questioned New York. We have, right? So not everybody buys in. Just because you're a Pistons fan, just because you think they're the best in the East, and I do, doesn't mean that people who question them are out of their minds. Now, I can't tell you how somebody in New York would say it's the Pistons who have to prove something. New York has nothing to prove. Okay. It's not like they were wearing rings, okay? So take it easy, all right? That's number 1. Number 2, when you play, even you may disregard a little bit of the regular season. Do you disregard 3 meetings with them? Ask yourself this. If your team won those 3 meetings head-to-head decisively, and it was no contest, 31, 38, and 15, would you sit there and go, well, I tell you what, they don't mean anything? No. You're saying that because your team is the one that got its ass kicked. But people have questioned the Knicks. It's okay to question the Pistons. I don't have a problem with that. I'd like to know what you're using as your base. And if you're going to tell me, well, they played San Antonio and the Spurs beat them up. True. They played an OKC team without their top 6 and their 7th player got hurt during the game. Top 7 players, and they gave you everything you could handle. That is true. You played Cleveland, who was without their 2 best scorers. Doesn't mean they're best players, they're 2 best scorers. And they took you to overtime. Again, true statement. Now what? Now, if they don't beat Cleveland tonight in Cleveland, the talk is, see, I told you so. You barely beat them without their 2 best scorers, and then you end up losing to them. I hate to tell people this. You still got a ways to go in the NBA regular season. Detroit's going to lose again at some point, all right? They're not running the table. I don't know if it's tonight. And if it is, it's not going to overly concern me. The thing that might concern me more than anything else about this team right now, and perhaps we get a little nitpicky, is their 3-point shooting. Look, I think I've said this for a while now. I think Cleveland's the stiffest test. This is after the trade deadline because they got James Harden, a scorer. He has sacrificed some things in his game. Kudos to him. Not a huge fan, to be honest with you, but kudos to him. Boston last night. Did you watch any of that game against Milwaukee? They just absolutely destroyed the Bucks. Destroyed them. On the other hand, Denver, who I think is really good, barely beat Utah. Folks, this is the NBA, man. I mean, this is just the way it works in this league, and it's always been that way. There isn't a team that is similar to the great Warriors or the great Bulls or the great Lakers that are reeling off 70 wins in a season. There isn't anybody like that. Get that out of your head. Look at for what these teams are worth now, okay? And if you look at, in Detroit, think about this. The end of the regular season isn't until more than a month away. And I know we like to talk about it. I do too. I got no issue with it. But man alive, they're coming up on a stretch where you get Cleveland and San Antonio, and it may not turn out to be as positive as we would like, even though Isaiah Stewart is back. And by the way, they went 6-1 without Isaiah Stewart. That's not bad. Okay? You'll take that. So it's really hard for me to go, Detroit wasn't at full strength. And then squash anyone from Cleveland who says they weren't at full strength. Because Detroit was at full strength or was at less than maximum capacity, and they still performed at a high rate. So did OKC. So did Cleveland in losses. I'm more apt to give those teams credit rather than try and disparage what Detroit did. Jalen Duren, by the way, who missed a couple of games overall, has been named Eastern Conference Player of the Week. He averaged 26 points, 14 rebounds, shot 64% from the floor. His last 5 games have been incredible. He has arrived, we think. Tigers fall to the Braves 5-2, but Framber Valdez was really good. Here's the Mitch Lions Wealth Poll question. Do you like the Lions trade of David Montgomery to Houston? Yes or no? It's as simple as that. You can vote as often as you want. I've retweeted it at ShepMatt. You can follow us on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, at XB Mornings. And it is there where you can watch our entire show and become engaged. You can do the same thing on YouTube. You can do the same thing on Facebook. Become engaged. Leave a comment. We welcome it, okay? Speaking of the Cavaliers, really good article yesterday about how James Harden has done some things differently and how Cleveland has kept them. It made me think a little bit of Detroit, but how Cleveland has been able to persevere because of their struggles at the beginning of the season. All right. And sure, it ended up culminating in a draft day deal for James Harden, which surprised a lot of people. But overall, when this team, who won 64 games a year ago, came out and struggled to start the season, and a lot of people started to wonder whether it was a quote-unquote flash in the pan, why you would trade for a 36-year-old, why you would trade for Dennis Schroeder and Keon Ellis and all these other things and get rid of DeAndre Hunter and get rid of Lonzo Ball and all these different things, right? Well, there was a practice, and I guess some Guardians were at a practice. And the Cleveland coaching staff was talking with him, specifically Kenny Atkinson, their head coach. And he recognized that his team was kind of off a bit. It's a really good article. It's a long article, but it's worth reading. And he was talking with the Cleveland Guardians, and he said, when they visited the facility in mid-December, and he said, that's a team that really struggled. They had a 10-game losing streak, and they fell under 500 at the All-Star break. They dropped 9 of 10 during another bad stretch in August. And then they caught fire and had a 24-8 streak. And Kenny Atkinson asked the Guardians, how'd you do that? How'd you get through it? And they said, Jose Ramirez is our best player. Atkinson said, that's Donovan Mitchell. And his quote was, it's so important that your best player doesn't go sideways. And I thought, man, Detroit over the last couple of years, the Tigers and some other teams, Red Wings in March, have gone sideways. Why is that? Is it their best player? Is it their leadership? Is it the team in general? It makes you think a little bit. We'll get your thoughts on it on the other side. We're on a Tullymore Tuesday roll here. We're brought to you by Meyer. This is X's and Bros on the Michigan Sports Network.
Hear that? That's the sound of saving a good deal more when you shop with M-Perks at Meyer. Some delicious Cosmic Crisp apples, money saved. Meyer Essential Paper Towels, that's money saved. Savings, savings, savings. Because every dollar spent is also points earned in MPerks, which you can use to save on your next grocery trip or up to $1 off per gallon on your next tank of gas. At Meijer, we work hard to help you save a good deal more for a whole lot less. That's bringing more good to life. Exclusions apply. See mperks.com for details.
Lake Michigan Credit Union is proud to be the official sponsor of Detroit Tigers spring training. Get to the ballpark today and enjoy family fun. LMCU is providing tickets to winners who enter our Tigers Tuesday contest. Text the word Tigers to 21,000 and register for tickets today. And listen to the Huge Show to see if you're a winner. It's brought to you by our friends at LMCU. You'll love banking there.
Make sure you listen weekly to our Moving Ferris Forward interviews with Ferris President Bill Pink and other leaders who are moving Ferris forward. Find out more about Big Rapids and Ferris and what they have to offer at ferris.edu.
The Freddy the Pizza Man Foundation is dedicated to providing support to families and Michigan schools touched by autism. We invite you to join us in supporting these families and schools by making a donation at freddythepizzaman.com. With your donation, you can help provide essential resources that can make a real impact. Visit freddythepizzaman.com to make a donation and to learn more about the foundation's mission. That's FREDI thepizzaman.com. Together, we can make a difference.
Ferris Coffee has been family-owned and operated for over 100 years. Its popular Den Blend and Dark Roast is more than coffee and more than the official coffee of the Detroit Lions. It's a call to rise. Ferris Coffee and the Lions are the perfect match. They embrace those who show up early, cheer loud, and never back down. Den Blend is perfectly roasted in Grand Rapids and provides the ultimate fuel for fans who wake up and roar. Whether you're tailgating at the game or cheering from your couch, Den Blend is your go-to coffee for your game day ritual.
Back with you, 18 after the hour. Thanks for taking some of your Tullymore Tuesday to spend with us here on X's and Bros. Always appreciate it. Always appreciate your thoughts, whether it be in the chat, on comments, if you're watching us stream on YouTube, on X, or on Facebook, or if you text us, Sports Radio 21,000, you can always call us, Meyer Hotline, 866-838-4843. Chuck in Muskegon has done just that. Chuck, welcome on a Tuesday. How are you, my friend?
Hey, how are you, Shep?
Good, good. What's going on?
Well, nothing. First of all, I'm in the camp of keeping Montgomery.
Okay.
I just loved how they a couple of years ago when they were utilized correctly. He and Gibbs. So I just think it's going to be a loss, mainly a chemistry thing. I have a lot of faith in Holmes, so I'm not near as rattled as when something happens with the Tigers. But Shep, you might have to talk me off the ledge here a little bit, and I hope I'm not going to dampen the mood here. But I'm normally a very optimistic person, and I am excited a little bit about the Tigers. But I have one major issue with the Tigers, and I'm sure you might disagree with this, but personally, I don't think A.J. Hinch is that good a manager, and I still can't get over. I talk about this with my buddies all the time. We're avid Tiger fans. I still can't get over him pulling Scuba with 99 pitches, throwing 102, striking Cal Raleigh out on a fastball at 102, striking out 7 straight before he gets pulled, and then have the audacity to slap me in the face and all the other Tiger fans by saying, "Oh, that was an easy decision." Well, if that was an easy decision, you ought to be fired. If Scuba wanted to come out, he ought to be released because I wouldn't want him on my team. Jack Morris would have gone out there for the 7th inning. And on top of everything else, I wonder what he thinks of Dave Roberts, who let Yamamoto pitch a 9-inning game on Saturday, and the very next day with 96 pitches, and the very next day come in and pitch 2 2/3. I'll be honest with you, Shep. I'm from Detroit. I'm blood, sweat, and tears Tigers and all the teams there, but I don't trust A.J. Hinch as far as I can throw him. The reason why Scuba only won 13 games last year is because they pull him in the 5th inning, 6th inning all the time. And I'm sorry, I'm just not as bought in with the Tigers. And as far as having a leader, I think Scuba or Verlander can maybe take that role this year. But I totally agree with that wonderful thing that you said about Ramirez. I mean, the Tigers, I wonder who that guy is because, they have a lot of guys who are nice guys and guys that work really hard and play hard, but they just don't have that it factor yet as far as a guy on the field they can turn to like a Bregman, I'm just using him as an example, or a Mike Trout type of guy. And I just wanted to get off my chest, and I appreciate you letting me do that. Thanks, Shep.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the phone call, and I'm not going to disagree with you a lot. I don't think many managers pull their best pitcher without talking with their pitcher first. And I think that was part of the case. Okay. I'm not going to try and talk you off the ledge. I know we get a little hyperbolic. They're taking them out after 5 innings. That's not necessarily true. You know that. Okay. I mean, he threw 7 innings, against the White Sox, and 7 innings against the Royals, and 7 innings against, the Astros and the Twins in back-to-back games, and so on and so forth. So I want to see. You sound a little bit like me. I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing. You want your best pitcher to go deeper. So do I. Okay. But when you and I, Chuck, talk to fans or other friends of ours about that, we're viewed as, the old guy in the room. And I don't think these pitchers are going deep enough at all. Now, do you look at innings or do you look at pitches? That's the thing that maybe some managers look at more so than you and I. He throws 95 pitches against Cleveland and he only goes 6 innings. Do you think the 95 pitches is the troubling part, or the 6 innings is the troubling part? You and I have to answer this question. I'm not asking just you. Got to answer. I have to answer it too. How many pitches is enough? If I said to you he went over 100 pitches 3 times last year, would that surprise you? Shouldn't. But he never threw more than 105. I don't know how much is enough, Chuck. That's the thing. Strikeout pitchers, unfortunately, are not going to go as far. It's the reason he had 13 wins is I don't think as much about having to do with his going 5 innings. I don't think he got a lot of help offensively in a lot of the games. Let's look at a guy who is I think who's a really good pitcher, signed for a lot of money in New York. Max Fried, and led the league in 19 wins. Okay, if you want to look at that, how many times did Max Fried throw 100 pitches? Now, some people don't like Aaron Boone. Okay, they think that he's a crappy manager. They want him out in New York. Max Fried threw over 100 pitches 4 times just in the month of September. I mean, if you look at how many times, again, I don't know if that's the key, but you're talking about 15 games of 100 pitches or more compared to Tarek Skubal. I don't know why you would pull him after 99 pitches unless he's the one who said, I'm done. I'm gassed. Do you try to hit a good bullpen? Is that the reason they lost? Or is the reason they lost because they couldn't score any runs? I kind of tend to believe on the latter. I think A.J. Hinch is a hell of a manager. I do. I think he's a master at handling his bullpen. I think he's a master at matchups. I don't think he has enough good players. But when it comes to Tarek Skubal, and I don't think Chuck is alone in this regard, you are concerned, and rightfully so, about whether or not he's got the it factor of going deep in games. Right? I understand that. Are the Tigers more careful with their pitchers than anybody else? I don't know. I really don't. It bothered me, just like it bothered Chuck. It bothered the hell out of me that was the theme afterwards. And I would remind Chuck and myself that Tarek Skubal is someone who said, yeah, I was done. Why are you done? Because you and I want Denny McClain, Mickey Lolich. Chuck's probably too young for that. He wants Jack Morris. He wants Justin Verlander. He wants the MFer who tells A.J. Hinch you're done to tell him, no, I'm not. You're not taking me out of the game. And I think Chuck got a little emotional there saying, you know what? If Tarek Skubal wants out, if he's done after 99 pitches and he strikes out 7 in a row or whatever it was, and he says, I don't want him on my team if he's asking out. Yes, you do. You do. You don't like that mindset. I don't blame you. I don't either. But you definitely want him on your team. Come on. We have to adjust our expectations. That's a hard thing for you and I to do. It's been virtually impossible for me. I'm not going to lie, Chuck. It's been virtually impossible for me. But the reality of today's baseball, and specifically in Detroit's baseball, is that guys aren't going real deep in games. And I think it's a problem. I would throw Tarek Skubal more. What's wrong with throwing 120 pitches? Remember, A.J. Hinch brags about this all the time. He let Edwin Jackson with Arizona throw a no-hitter, and look at how many pitches he threw. I think he threw like 140, 150 pitches. He allowed him to do that because Edwin Jackson was still good to go, right? So is it an indictment on A.J. Hinch or is it an indictment on Tarek Skubal? Or both, maybe, for Chuck. I don't know. I just know if A.J. Hinch is going to sit there and go, you know what? Edwin Jackson threw 149 pitches to get that no-hitter, and he did it. Why can't he do it with Tarek Skubal? And at what point in the season? Quick timeout. Back with more. It's a good discussion. It really is. I understand where he's coming from. It's a Tully Moore Tuesday. We're brought to you by Meyer. Stay with us.
Mitch Lyons here, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth, where we create your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement. I'm here with Tiger legend Kirk Gibson, who we are proud to support and partner with on the newly opened Kirk Gibson Center for Parkinson's Wellness.
Thanks, Mitch. We appreciate your support, and we are excited to have recently opened the center in Farmington Hills. It provides exercise therapy and educational programs that are helping the Parkinson's community, just like Mitch Lyons Wealth helps improve the quality for their clients' retirements. This center helps improve the quality of life for people with Parkinson's.
And Gibby, the best part of all is that access to the center is available to the Parkinson's community free of charge, right?
That's right, absolutely free of charge for people with Parkinson's and their care partners.
You hit a couple of the most famous home runs in Major League history, Gibby, but I feel that your greatest hit will be the positive impact the Kirk Gibson Center is making in the fight against Parkinson's.
Mitch, since my diagnosis, I get up every day and focus on winning that day. This center encourages others to do the same.
Awesome, Gibby. To learn more, go to kirkgibsoncenter.org.
Lake Michigan Credit Union is proud to be the official sponsor of Detroit Tigers spring training. Get to the ballpark today and enjoy family fun. LMCU is providing tickets to winners who enter our Tigers Tuesday contest. Text the word Tigers to 21,000 and register for tickets today. And listen to The Huge Show to see if you're a winner. It's brought to you by our friends at LMCU. You'll love banking there.
Save a good deal more during the Meijer Dollar Deal Sale, February 18th through March 3rd. Shop the entire store and choose from more than 800 items, all $1 each, like extra large navel oranges, Meijer frozen personal pizza, and Meijer facial tissue. And now, shopping dollar deals in our weekly ad just got easier. Click an item and add it to your cart. It's that simple. The Meijer Dollar Deal Sale and an easier way to shop our digital ad. That's the good life, a good deal better. Exclusions apply. See all deals in the Meijer app.
Coming up on X's and Bros, we got a very interesting comment from our friends on the Crossover podcast, Lindsay Hunter and Tim Hardaway Sr. They said something that I think will push you back a little bit in your chair or in your driver's seat or whatever, and make you wonder a little bit about certain players. I love talking about the NBA a lot of times, but I think the one guy that gets overlooked because the constant theme is, is it either Michael Jordan or LeBron James? I'd take Kobe Bryant over LeBron James in a second. And Kobe Bryant always had those 10 rules, right? Get better every day, prove them wrong, work on your weakness, execute what you practice, learn from greatness, learn from both winning and losing, practice mindfulness, be ambitious, believe in your team and yourself, and learn storytelling. Those were his 10 rules, which I think is always pretty cool. I remember an interview he did one time. He says, I've always been a player who I wanted people to look at me and think he never wasted a moment. Maybe he did to try and prove a point, which wasn't necessarily a good thing once or twice in his career. But I totally would look at Kobe Bryant and say he's the guy I would want second, probably all time. Larry Bird might be third, to be honest with you. But we were talking just before the break with Chuck, who had, I think, an excellent call. It was an emotional call. He's frustrated a little bit about the Tigers. I'm sure Chuck is with a lot of his buddies thinking the Tigers are the best team in the division. They are. But I think they've been the best team in the division over the last 2 years. What makes me say that? Well, depth in pitching, depth in bullpen. Sometimes you look at the best player in various positions. Like, who's the best left fielder in the division? It's Riley Green. Outside of that, I don't know how you could say Detroit had Dylan Dingler. Is he better than Salvador Perez at this stage of his career? I don't know.
We'll find out this year.
Yeah, probably.
Because they're on both ends of the spectrum. You got one kid who just won a Gold Glove. I say kid, he's older than me, but he's ascending, and then you got Salvi Perez who's slowly descending. So it just depends on how much of a leap Dingler takes, really.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think he seems to have the makeup of a guy who could continue to do it. I don't think I'm not going to sit there and project that he's going to do it for 14 years that Salvador Perez did. All right. And neither are you. I would remind people, Salvador Perez still hit 30 bombs last year.
Yeah, he's still very productive.
So if he's descending at age 35, and one would assume you would, especially at the catcher position, how are you descending when you hit 48 homers, 23 homers, 23 homers, 27 homers, and 30 homers?
Yeah, over the last 4 years, he's pretty much stayed consistent.
That's the last 5 years.
Yeah, but I'm saying since the 48 year, it dropped a little bit, but then he's stayed consistent since then.
Yeah. Dude's averaging 29 homers in his 14-year career. I'll take that.
For sure.
By the way, and he's also a guy who's won 5 Gold Gloves, and he's a guy who's won 5 Silver Sluggers. So if you want production, if you want run production, you want home runs, Salvador Perez has done it. 121 RBIs, 76 RBIs, 80 RBIs, 104 RBIs, 100 RBIs. But if you're, like you said, if you're looking for the guy who's ascending, it would be Dylan Dingler. Is there anybody else in this division you can confidently say they're the best at their position within the division?
Not confidently.
Not confidently.
No.
Best third baseman, Jose Ramirez. That's not close. Best shortstops, Bobby Witt Jr. That's not close. There are debates for others. Okay, you can have a good duke it out fight between Vinny Pasquantino and Spencer Torkelson if you want. Okay, and it's not like this division is chock full of them. All right, this is not the NL West or the AL East. It's just not. But Tarek Skubal, I think it's safe to say, is the best at what he does. Chuck's frustration and disappointment, seems like, is how he is used. I think it's really hard for pitchers to go out. If they're strikeout pitchers, and Tarek Skubal's a strikeout pitcher, it's hard for you to go out there and say, don't strike guys out. That's a mindset that they have. It's the the stuff that they possess. So then, but then it comes to this. How is his team using him? Okay. And when you look at, for example, Garrett Crochet, he was a reliever. He won 18 games last year for Boston, in case you're wondering. He led the league in strikeouts with 255. If you look at Garrett Crochet and you say, okay, that's the closest thing. He started as a reliever out of Tennessee. He was the first one in his draft class to reach the majors. How many pitches is he throwing, Shep? That's what a lot of people might ask. Well, it might be a little different. And again, we have to ask ourselves, how much is enough? I said Tarek Skubal's thrown 100 pitches 3 times last year. Okay. And if you want to count the postseason, 4 times. There was a time where Garrett Crochet, just in the month of July, threw 100 pitches or more 3 straight outings. 10 strikeouts, 5 strikeouts, 9 strikeouts, 100, 100, 100. Okay. I'm trying to use similar examples. There was another time in the month of April. I mean, we're right out of the gate, right? 3 times in that month, he threw 100 pitches or more, 102, 107, 110. Maybe it's the way he's being used, as in Skubal, or maybe it's the way he just feels. How can a guy like Garrett Crochet, who leads the league in strikeouts, he's a strikeout pitcher. Is that fair to say? I hope you're with me on this. Tell me he's not a strikeout pitcher. If you lead the league in strikeouts, he's a strikeout pitcher. All right. He struck out 14 more batters than Tarek Skubal. Started 1 extra game than Tarek Skubal, but he struck out more batters than Tarek Skubal did. Didn't have as good of ERA. Didn't have as good a whip, although the whip was outstanding. But he's still throwing deeper into games, or at least more pitches. Let's put it that way. What's the measuring stick is what we have to ask ourselves. But if you're the manager, you can't look at a pitcher and say, I want you to go back out there after he says, I think I'm spent. When Max Scherzer did that in Detroit, he was vilified. Tarek Skubal does that in Detroit. It's A.J. Hinch's fault. I'm not sure about that. You know, that's the weird thing. Especially in this town, we don't want guys who ask out of games. But some pitchers do. Now, Trent, maybe you can tell me I'm wrong here. But from what I remember after that game against Seattle that Chuck was referring to, if you can go back and look at see if you can find the Tarek Skubal quote for me, Trent. I'm pretty sure my memory's dead on here. Okay. But Tarek Skubal lasted 6 innings, struck out 13 batters, allowed 2 hits and 1 run. All right. He threw 99 pitches. 2 starts earlier in the postseason against Cleveland, he threw 107 pitches. Again, is it innings because it went 7 2/3, or is it pitches 107? How you're feeling that day. Not all of us feel the same every single day. Not every athlete does either. Some guys might be dealing with flu-like symptoms. Some might feel a little achy, a little tired, a little sore, whatever. Okay. It's a tough, fine line, isn't it? Do I go back out there and be the tough guy and try to gut my way through this start? Or do I do what I think is best for the team and pull myself? It'd have been nice to have more than 2 runs scored for your team, wouldn't it? Absolutely. And let's face it. I mean, that's part of the reason, like Chuck said, the reason he lost 13 games. No, part of the reason he lost 13 games or won only 13 games is because the amount of run support that he got. So I think there's a difficult, we want to lay blame. I get it, but it's difficult to do that. It's difficult to find who's most at fault. Okay. So is it Tarek Skubal? Is it A.J. Hinch? Chuck has come to the conclusion he's come to the conclusion that it's more on A.J. Hinch. A.J. Hinch's job, man, is to do whatever he can possibly do to win a game. Why would he take out Tarek Skubal when you got a chance to win the game? That's the question. Okay. Tarek Skubal, in 9 of his starts this past year, had 2 runs or fewer. 9 of the 31 starts he made. Okay. So the run support, I mean, there are others where there's a few times where he's gotten plenty of run support. So maybe I'm off base there. Still, when you're out there, and especially in the postseason, and runs are at a premium, it's no different than basketball. Basketball, it's going to be played differently. Baseball is played differently. But you're not getting a whole lot of run support in the postseason against Cleveland or Seattle. I like Tarek Skubal. I think he's a hell of a pitcher. I think he's the best pitcher in the world. If there's one part of his game, this is to Chuck's point now, if there's one part of his game I'd like to see improve, I'd like to see him go deeper in games. At what expense? Isn't there a part of you this year that thinks to yourself, well, he's going to be a free agent after this year. He's probably not going to be here. Let's ride that horse as much as we possibly can. I would bet there's quite a few people like that. Keep him out there because it's not like he's going to be a Tiger next year anyway. And that's where the player comes in. And the player might be going, look, enough is enough. I mean, I'm having a hard time commanding certain things. So let's get to a few things on the chat. Shep, the average season for a running back in the NFL is 3.3 years. David Montgomery has played 7 seasons. Great move by Detroit. That's so well said by Bob Zielinski. Thank you, Bob. We appreciate that. And you're 100% right. You're going to be able to get a backup running back. Tyler Algiers, James Conner, Brian Robinson. You could draft one. Sione Vaki can be elevated. This is no disrespect to David Montgomery at all. I like him. Okay? I love that he embraced the fans, embraced Lions culture, and helped build Lions culture, helped cultivate it. He moves on. So do you. If you emotionally have been able to move on from certain players in the past, Justin Verlander, Max Scherzer, Herman Moore, Lomas Brown. I mean, we're talking about great players. Lomas Brown was a great left tackle. Herman Moore, hell of a wide receiver. You can't move on from David Montgomery? Sure you can. Does it make your team weaker? Depends on what they do with the picks, and it depends on how they replace it. What if Tyler Algiers, who's done a good job in Atlanta, is the backup to Bijan Robinson? What if you get a guy like that? Less money, gives you a little different look, little spunk to you. What would be wrong with that? I have no problem with it. Look how many pitchers threw complete games 50 years ago or longer compared to today. Yeah, that's a good point, Bob. We've said that for a long time. Again, I get the old guy thrown at me, and I understand why. When you don't, how many complete games do you think Tarek Skubal has in his career? Overall, complete games. How many do you think he had?
Well, I know the answer. It's 1, right?
Yeah, it's 1 in his career. Okay. As we said, I think a couple of weeks ago, Mickey Lolich, Denny McClain. I know. But look, Bob's the one who said, 50 years ago or so, which was in the 70s. But still, look at how many complete games are being thrown there. And compared to Tarek Skubal, did you find that answer, by the way? Did you find that Tarek Skubal quote?
Yeah, you were spot on.
Yeah.
I didn't find the quote. It was in a video, but we could maybe play the sound coming back.
Yeah, just roughly. I mean, he basically said he was spent, right?
Yes.
He was done?
Yep.
Yeah, right. So, but yeah, I mean, it's a good point by Bob on the comments on YouTube in the chat where he's going, hey, listen, people don't throw complete games anymore. Yes, you're correct. Let's use Tom Seaver as an example because we said 50 years ago. Let's put it in the 70s instead of the 60s. Shep, can we Tom Seaver, 19 complete games. His 18 complete games in 1973 led the league. 18. That's it. If you looked at last year in Major League Baseball, what do you think led the league in complete games?
3.
We've talked about this before, right?
Yeah, it's been a minute, but yeah.
I think it's 2.
Is it 2? Okay.
I think 2.
I mean, I know it's not many because like they've said, guys just don't do it anymore. Period.
Right.
You kind of need a perfect storm to go a complete game.
So then it begs this question, Trent. Is it on the player or is that on the manager?
I usually lean manager.
Yeah. So the guys who led last year in complete games, Tanner Bybee with 2 and Framber Valdez with 2. 2. I mean, Bob Gibson, that's the 1960, 68. He had 2 complete games in back-to-back starts, and he did it like 11 times. It's crazy. I know people don't want to baseball probably more than any other sport you're comparing. Nobody's comparing today's players to Alex English in the NBA. Nobody's comparing him to Guy Lafleur. Okay? They're not in the 70s and 80s. Baseball is probably the one sport that's what they're doing too. Okay? No, I don't think there's anybody going, Saquon Barkley reminds me of Chuck Foreman. They don't do that. It's all about baseball. Baseball goes back further. We use far back examples with baseball more than any other sport. It's really good stuff. Appreciate that, Bob. Good stuff in the chat on YouTube. So it's much appreciated on a Tullymore Tuesday. And this hour brought to you by Meyer. When we come back, crossover podcast with our friends Tim Hardaway Sr., the Hall of Famer, and a 2-time world champion, Lindsey Hunter, said something about the NBA, that specifically the Pistons, that might make a lot of people pause. You'll hear it when we come back after this.
Mitch Lyons here, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth, where we create your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement. I'm here with Tiger legend Kirk Gibson, who we are proud to support and partner with on the newly opened Kirk Gibson Center for Parkinson's Wellness.
Thanks, Mitch. We appreciate your support, and we are excited to have recently opened the center in Farmington Hills. It provides exercise therapy and educational programs that are helping the Parkinson's community, just like Mitch Lyons Wealth helps improve the quality for their clients' retirements. This center helps improve the quality of life for people with Parkinson's.
And Gibby, the best part of all is that access to the center is available to the Parkinson's community free of charge, right?
That's right, absolutely free of charge for people with Parkinson's and their care partners.
You hit a couple of the most famous home runs in Major League history, Gibby, but I feel that your greatest hit will be the positive impact the Kirk Gibson Center is making in the fight against Parkinson's.
Mitch, since my diagnosis, I get up every day and focus on winning that day. This center encourages others to do the same.
Awesome, Gibby. To learn more, go to kirkgibsoncenter.org.
The Freddie the Pizza Man Foundation is dedicated to providing support to families and Michigan schools touched by autism. We invite you to join us in supporting these families and schools by making a donation at freddythepizzaman.com. With your donation, you can help provide essential resources that can make a real impact. Visit freddythepizzaman.com to make a donation and to learn more about the foundation's mission. That's FREDI, thepizzaman.com. Together, we can make a difference.
What's up, Michigan? You're listening to Shep. Don't forget the huge show later today at 3 on the Michigan Sports Network.
Avello Airlines knows you love the Tigers because they love them too. It's why they have direct flights to Lakeland, Florida out of both Grand Rapids and Detroit. Thursdays and Sundays are nonstop out of GR, and Wednesdays and Saturdays are nonstop out of Detroit. So wherever you are in Michigan, you can get down to spring training to watch your Tigers. With everyday low fares, reliable service, you do not want to fly any other way. Head to AvelloAir.com to book your trip now. That's AVELO air.com and use code HUGE for $20 off a round-trip base fare if you book before March 31st. Restrictions do apply.
Ferris Coffee has been family-owned and operated for over 100 years. Its popular Den Blend and Dark Roast is more than coffee and more than the official coffee of the Detroit Lions. It's a call to rise. Ferris Coffee and the Lions are the perfect match. They embrace those who show up early, cheer loud, and never back down. Den Blend is perfectly roasted in Grand Rapids and provides the ultimate fuel for fans who wake up and roar. Whether you're tailgating at the game or cheering from your couch, Den Blend is your go-to coffee for your game day ritual.
Hear that? That's the sound of saving a good deal more when you shop with M-Perks at Meijer. Some delicious Cosmic Crisp apples, money saved. Meijer Essential Paper Towels, that's money saved. Savings, savings, savings. Because every dollar spent is also points earned in M-Perks, which you can use to save on your next grocery trip or up to $1 off per gallon on your next tank of gas. At Meijer, we work hard to help you save a good deal more for a whole lot less. That's bringing more good to life. Exclusions apply. See mperks.com for details.
Huge here for Josh Garvey and his team at Dorn Mayhew, West Michigan. Now, they continue to grow. They got their worldwide headquarters in Troy, Michigan, on the east side of the state. They are worldwide. They are the leaders when it comes to accounting, CPA, and business needs. Simple and easy. Just Google Dorn Mayhew. And also, Josh Garvey joins me every Tuesday as we talk hoops with former Michigan and Cleveland Cavaliers head coach John Beilein. Tuesdays, 5 p.m., Josh Garvey, Coach Beilein, and myself, we talk Michigan, Michigan State, and the Pistons. Talking hoops happens all the way through the NBA Finals. And could you imagine if the Pistons are in the NBA Finals? If you ever have a hoops question for us, you can drop it at Huge Show on Twitter, The Huge Show on Facebook, and Talking Hoops every Tuesday at 5 p.m., presented by one of the world's top accounting, CPA, and business firms, Dorn Mayhew.
I'm laughing a little bit. Welcome back, X's and Bros, Monday through Friday. Laughing a little bit because our caller, Chuck, earlier had said, you got to talk me off the ledge. I'm not sure I did that, Trent.
Yeah, I'm not sure you did either.
How would you talk somebody off the ledge who feels that way?
Well, I mean, you are on the record. You think A.J. Hinch is a very, very solid manager. So do I. I think he's one of the best in baseball, if not the best. I mean, I don't think that's hyperbolic. He was saying he wants him out of town. So you can't really fake it, Well, you can respect his opinion, but you don't need to talk him off the ledge if you don't feel that he should be out of town,
Yeah.
But I love the passion from Chuck.
Yeah, me too. I don't know if he said I want him out of town. Did he say that, or did he just say I don't trust him, or I forget exactly?
Well, yeah, he's okay. My bad. He said he doesn't trust him as far as he can throw him, and blamed him solely for the school decision, and
Yes, which by the way, by him saying that, maybe you're right. Maybe he does want him out of town.
Yeah, maybe I jumped to a little bit of a conclusion, but maybe it's fair to say I don't know. Sorry, Chuck.
Yeah, no, it's just I don't think he's alone in that regard when it comes to handling a pitching staff. I think that's how managers are viewed and judged, probably more than anything. Well, I suppose if you say their batting order, I think people realize there's a little bit of an issue there with Detroit's batting order. So how are you going to use the pitching staff? Let's put it this way. Trent was able to look up the quote or listen to the quote. Give me an idea of what Tarek Skubal said after that game against Seattle and why he was pulled after 99 pitches, 6 innings, 1 run, 2 hits, 13 punch-outs. Because while Chuck is blaming A.J. Hinch, and A.J. Hinch is the one who's got to ask the pitcher. Look, every manager does. Managers and pitching coaches, Chris Fetter, you see the shots on TV. He's talking with his pitchers on a pretty regular basis. A lot of managers will not just get it from the pitcher. They'll go to the catcher. What are you seeing here? And A.J. Hinch, as a catcher himself, understands that probably better than anybody else. So I would ask you, Trent, you listened to it during the break, right? I mean,
yeah, well, the main
what
gist,
exactly did he say?
The main gist is he said hindsight's 20/20, right? So I mean, he's kind of giving Hinch the support there, saying if I go back out there, at least this is how I read into it. If I go back out there and give up a run or two, then everyone's gonna, say it was the wrong decision. He said hindsight's 20/20.
Right. But Tarek Skubal did say he was done. Did he not? Did he not say he was gassed?
He said he was tired. Yeah.
Yeah, said he was tired. Okay.
And I think he's also, with the hindsight 20/20 thing, referring to the Tigers lost. Had they won, no one would even mention the whole, Skubal Hinch controversy.
Yes.
No matter how many innings it went. If they had won, they move on to the CS. No one cares.
Correct. Here's another thing that people don't care. Like Chuck brought up Dave Roberts, and Dave Roberts is widely viewed as, like, he won a world championship again. He's viewed as, I would say, probably the best manager in baseball. Most people would probably say that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I would.
Okay. There was a game last year. The Dodgers were at home, and they were playing the Philadelphia Phillies. Okay. And Shohei Ohtani was there. He pitched 5 no-hit innings. Okay. Everybody was blown away. Dodgers were up 4-0. They enter the 6th. And Dave Roberts pulls Shohei Ohtani. Okay. He just struck out Bryce Harper. And the Phillies go on to win 9-6. And people were just booing him. Ohtani touched 102 miles an hour. He was untouchable. Retired the final 13 batters he faced. Gave up a walk to Harper. But his fastball was averaging 99 miles an hour. He was in control. He looked flawless, okay? But Roberts decided to pull Ohtani after 5 innings. And they end up losing. I only bring this up because Chuck's the one who brought up Dave Roberts. That's all. A.J. Hinch is not managing the Dodgers. Dave Roberts did, and that's what he chose to do with Shohei Ohtani on the mound. No hitter. He's throwing a no hitter, man. Retires 13 batters in a row. How does that make you feel? You forget about it because they won the World Series. He gave Dave Roberts credit for using a pitcher in the World Series who's the MVP, Yamamoto, and on 2 days rest, look at what he does. I don't think it's too dissimilar. I think it's a good example. I do. I just remind you that earlier in the year, that happened with Ohtani. Dave Martinez pulled a pitcher too early in a World Series. Got away with it because they won the World Series with the Washington Nationals. Kevin Cash does that with Blake Snell. He'll be vilified forever. It's not unique, is my point. Unfortunately, it's not unique. I don't like it. I think in today's sports, not just baseball, but in today's sports, we see an awful lot of trainers involved, doctors involved, agents involved with how things are done. I'm not saying it has a decision in every managerial thought, and I'm not saying it's what drives certain players. I'm just saying there are a lot of proverbial cooks in the kitchen. But all I'm asking, I try to provide as much information for people as I possibly can. And what I would ask Chuck, and by the way, I think Chuck's right. I do. I said it afterwards. Said it on this very show. I wanted Skubal to go deeper. Skubal said he was tired. Chuck used Dave Roberts as an example. I'm trying to tell you that Dave Martinez, who managed the Washington Nationals to a World Series, made a similar decision, and Dave Roberts has made a similar decision. And I would argue, and I think Kevin Cash is a hell of a manager, and that's what he did with Blake Snell. I didn't agree with it at the time. I'm not saying he's right. I just don't think that makes them bad managers. Bad decisions at that time, if you're going to do that on a regular basis and your team's going to suffer the consequences for it, you are a bad manager. I think those guys have made more right decisions than wrong. Not every decision is the right decision. I don't think A.J. Hinch is alone in that. I just don't think he makes that decision without checking with the player, whoever that player may be. I would also add this. We all give players, with every team in every sport, a certain pass if they've accomplished certain things. If Justin Verlander said, I'm tired, you'd say, well, I get it. Jack Flaherty says it, what the hell's wrong with you? Tarek Skubal says, I'm done. I'm spent. Oh, okay. That's cool. We get it. You gave us everything you had. Casey Mize says that. You're like, what the hell's wrong with this guy? Why can't you throw more than 99 pitches? And I don't think it's unique to Detroit either, by the way. I think that would happen with just about every single market. If pitcher A and is your ace, Garrett Cole, Max Fried, if those guys say, man, I'm spent. Okay, we get it. If pitcher D and E, the fourth and fifth starter say that, you're going, what the hell's wrong with you? Why can't you get through a full game? Don't you remember Whitey Ford back in the day? Catfish Hunter, whomever. Phone number on the Meyer hotline is 866-838-4843. Text us, Sports Radio 21000. Get some more feedback via the stream on YouTube that we will get to, and that crossover podcast clip that you're going to want to listen to regarding the Pistons and comparing certain players of Pistons gone by. That's coming up next on X's and Bros on a Tullymore Tuesday. And we're brought to you this hour by our friends at Ovello Airlines.
It's time to go on the court with Tim Stout. DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app today and use code HUGE for a special offer when you sign up. That's code HUGE only at DraftKings Sportsbook. We're down to the final week of Big Ten basketball's regular season on the men's side, and among the hottest teams anywhere, let alone the conference, Michigan State. 2 wins in Indiana last week, both at Purdue and at Indiana Sunday afternoon, give the Spartans a 4-game winning streak, a 24-5 record overall, at the moment projected as a 3 seed in the NCAA tournament. You would think the Spartans will win their home finale Thursday night against Rutgers, even though that was an overtime game on the road, and then comes a big showdown coming up Sunday afternoon at Michigan, even though there may not be much on the line since Michigan has already won the Big Ten title. But another big week, the final week for the Spartans of the regular season.
Huge here for Josh Garvey and his team at Dorn Mayhew, West Michigan. Now, they continue to grow. They got their worldwide headquarters in Troy, Michigan, on the east side of the state. They are worldwide. They are the leaders when it comes to accounting, CPA, and business needs. Simple and easy. Just Google Dorn Mayhew. And also, Josh Garvey joins me every Tuesday as we talk hoops with former Michigan and Cleveland Cavaliers head coach John Beilein. Tuesdays, 5 p.m., Josh Garvey, Coach Beilein, and myself, we talk Michigan, Michigan State, and the Pistons. Talking hoops happens all the way through the NBA Finals. And could you imagine if the Pistons are in the NBA Finals? If you ever have a hoops question for us, you can drop it at Huge Show on Twitter, The Huge Show on Facebook, and Talking Hoops every Tuesday at 5 p.m., presented by one of the world's top accounting, CPA, and business firms, Dorn Mayhew.
The Freddie the Pizza Man Foundation is dedicated to providing support to families and Michigan schools touched by autism. We invite you to join us in supporting these families and schools by making a donation at freddythepizzaman.com. With your donation, you can help provide essential resources that can make a real impact. Visit freddythepizzaman.com to make a donation and to learn more about the foundation's mission. That's FREDI thepizzaman.com. Together, we can make a difference.
Okay, back with you, 18 after the hour. Thanks for being with us. We know you get choices, a lot of them, but on a Tell Me More Tuesday, for you to give a little bit of your time to us means a great deal. Bob has been active in the chat, and we greatly appreciate it. Thank you, Bob. Question always bothered me in football of teams playing in the same field dimensions, basketball, the same size court, hockey, the same size rink, baseball, the outfield dimensions are wild. Yeah, well, yeah, baseball, it's still 90 feet between the bases, even though I hate the big bases. It's still 60 feet, 6 inches from pitcher's mound to home plate. Football's always 120. Basketball's always 94 feet. There used to be in hockey, some did have Olympic rinks. That's no longer the case. So the rinks are pretty standard. I think it's unique about baseball. That's what I love about baseball, or one of the many things I love about baseball. I also used to love the fact that there was no clock, and now there is, and I don't like the clock, but I know I'm in the minority there. So whatever. Let me get to a couple of texts they've been waiting a while. Go ahead, Trent. Fire away, baby.
Yeah, this one says, good morning, Shep. The Lions needed to make a move to satisfy the fans. I'm okay with it knowing that David Montgomery wasn't happy in his role. Hopefully Brad can make magic from this trade.
Yeah, amen to that. Yeah, I don't think Brad Holmes does it to satisfy the fans. I think Brad Holmes, and I give him a ton of credit here. I'm not saying he's God's gift to GM world. Okay, he's not Eddie DeBartolo Jr., or Carmen Policy. Eddie DeBartolo was the owner of the Niners. What he has done is he looked out for his player. And he's shown this on a couple of occasions. He did with Matthew Stafford. Send me someplace where I can get a chance to get a ring. Okay, I'll do that. However, I'm not just going to do it for the sake of doing it. It's got to be good for us too. And obviously it was for the Rams and it was for the Lions, right? I think that's fair. Steve Eisman did that with Jonathan Drouin. Jonathan Drouin says, I want out. Steve Eisman says, okay, I know. We'll do our best to get you out of here. But I'm not just going to take, a bag of hockey pucks in return for you. I've got to get something that's going to help my team. At some point, it may wear thin, but I've got to do something to help my team. Same thing with Brad Holmes and David Montgomery. David Montgomery did not like his role. I don't blame David Montgomery. Who wants that? It's not like he's got a huge ego. But we all have egos. Don't tell me he doesn't, okay? Everybody does. And that's okay. It depends on how big that ego truly is. But when you look at David Montgomery, you can see the writing on the wall, can you not? You can understand that Jahmyr Gibbs is the featured back. When you go from Detroit from 1,015 yards rushing and 13 touchdowns, but more importantly, the 219 touches, down to 185, down to 158. See, they still put him in at the goal line. First year, he had 13 touchdowns. Second year, he had 12 touchdowns. Last year, even though he had 158 carries, which is the lowest in his career, by the way, he still had 8 touchdowns. Only twice in his career, only twice in his 7-year career, Chicago and Detroit, has he carried the ball less than 200 times. Both times were in Detroit, each over the last 2 years. I don't blame David Montgomery one bit. Texas was a place that he wanted to go, allegedly. Brad Holmes found a way to do it. And you know what? By all reports, the original price was going to be a 5th-round choice. And Brad Holmes said he found somebody else who was interested and would give him more, and the Texans upped the ante. Awesome. But the texter's 100% right. I can sit there and say, I think this is a good deal because Detroit got a 5th, or a 4th, rather, and a 7th. They now have 2 4s. They now have 2 7s, and they got a player. But if that player isn't very good, and Brad Holmes doesn't do what he's supposed to do in the 4th round, what difference does it make? We'll see what, obviously, David Montgomery does in Houston, and I wish him well. But I think on the surface, it's a good deal when most analysts, NFL.com, all these other places, everybody likes to give grades. Everyone's giving them an A minus. I'm all for it. That's cool. But the texter's right. I mean, you got to make do with what you're getting. Better make that pick do something for you. It's a 4th-round choice. Should be somebody who contributes to your football team. You know my philosophy if you listen to the show long enough. My philosophy is Your first, your second, and I would argue your third round picks should be starters. Outside of quarterback, your first round pick should be starting for you right away. Your second round pick should be starting for you right away. Your third round pick should eventually be a starter for you. Or should be at least a contributor to you. And your fourth round pick should be a contributor to you as well. Anything after that is gravy. Okay? Brad Holmes has done a pretty good job with some of his late draft picks. That second rounder has been a dud for the most part. Not all of them, but it's been a dud outside of 2023. I said it's a big offseason for him. As soon as the season ended, I said offseason is going to be huge for Brad Holmes in a number of different ways. This is part of the offseason. Don't freak out. There's still 7 days till free agency. Then what happens? How is he going to – his test is, how is he going to restructure certain contracts? How is he then going to use that to get important pieces through free agency and or trades? And then, of course, with the draft. This also probably tells you that Jahmyr Gibbs, would you go this far? Let me ask you this. Would you go this far to read Jahmyr Gibbs is going to get a contract extension?
Yeah, I would lean that way.
Okay. I would too. Absolutely. How long? I don't know. But that's the next shooter to drop.
For sure.
All right, next text. Go ahead.
I feel that Holmes' trust capital is almost gone. What if the Monty trade was the first price, I think it means piece, of his master plan to get Crosby? We have plenty of cap space that we can gain from restructuring deals. And also Tyler Algier would be a good add to replace Monty.
There you go. Okay. Yeah, thank you.
That's a good one.
I said Tyler Algier. I said James Conner obviously fits with Drew Petzing. And I know he's been hurt a little bit, but there's a lot of guys who've been hurt in their careers and still been okay.
He'd take a diminished role here as well.
It takes the diminished role. I said Brian Robinson. I think he would be a good fit too. But anyway, yeah, those are all astute points. I'm not sure about the Max Crosby thing, only because based on reports, I've seen teams associated with Crosby and the Lions are not one of them. Last week, I was really encouraged. In fact, Friday, I was really fired up that Brad Holmes had reached out and was offering 2 first-round picks for Max Crosby. Do that in a second. I mean, in a heartbeat. Anybody who says they wouldn't do that is nuts. I'm serious. I mean, we're talking about a guy who plays 94% of the snaps. Guy's really good against the run, really good at getting pressure, really good at getting to the quarterback, good at knocking footballs down, right? Athletic as all hell, wants to win. He's tired of losing. Played at Eastern Michigan, and then he played with the Raiders. His teams have sucked. He wants to win. No one will be more determined going to a new team, especially this team, and helping them win a championship than Max Crosby. So I'd give up 2 first-rounders for sure. That would probably be the extent. I might throw in a player there, but that would probably be the extent of it. I wish Detroit were in that mix. I haven't seen his name this week. I stress that, and it's been a short week, associated with Detroit. Doesn't mean that he's not, because it might. There's a lot of surprises that might come your way. But he would be a perfect fit for Detroit's defense. He helps your secondary as well. I mean, if he were available in the draft right now, based on his statistics, would you take him at 17? Of course you would. And then, of course, you've got, if you're as successful as you hope to be, the following year, you're going to have a low pick anyway. So the first round picks, yeah, I would do that. I just haven't seen his name associated with it. If this is the way that Brad Holmes is going to go about it, to clear some room there and to restructure deals to get Max Crosby, booyah. Happy for him. That'd be great. Happy for you and me. Quick timeout. This show is flying. We're brought to you by Avello Airlines. When we come back, I promise, this time, I promise, the crossover podcast and what they said about the Pistons, and we'll get the final results of the poll question and the Daily Wager, brought to you by Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Stay with us.
Hear that? That's the sound of saving a good deal more when you shop with M-Perks at Meijer. Some delicious Cosmic Crisp apples, money saved. Meijer Essential Paper Towels, that's money saved. Savings, savings, savings. Because every dollar spent is also points earned in M-Perks, which you can use to save on your next grocery trip or up to $1 off per gallon on your next tank of gas. At Meijer, we work hard to help you save a good deal more for a whole lot less. That's bringing more good to life. Exclusions apply. See mperks.com for details.
What's up, Michigan? You're listening to my good friend Shep. The Huge Show is coming up later today at 3, right here on the Michigan Sports Network.
Lake Michigan Credit Union is proud to be the official sponsor of Detroit Tigers spring training. Get to the ballpark today and enjoy family fun. LMCU is providing tickets to winners who enter our Tigers Tuesday contest. Text the word Tigers to 21,000 and register for tickets today. And listen to The Huge Show to see if you're a winner. It's brought to you by our friends at LMCU. You'll love banking there.
Avello Airlines knows you love the Tigers because they love them too. It's why they have direct flights to Lakeland, Florida out of both Grand Rapids and Detroit. Thursdays and Sundays are nonstop out of GR, and Wednesdays and Saturdays are nonstop out of Detroit. So wherever you are in Michigan, you can get down to spring training to watch your Tigers. With everyday low fares, reliable service, you do not want to fly any other way. Head to AvelloAir.com to book your trip now. That's AVELO air.com and use code HUGE for $20 off a round trip base fare if you book before March 31st. Restrictions do apply.
The Freddie the Pizza Man Foundation is dedicated to providing support to families and Michigan schools touched by autism. We invite you to join us in supporting these families and schools by making a donation at freddythepizzaman.com. With your donation, you can help provide essential resources that can make a real impact. Visit freddythepizzaman.com to make a donation and to learn more about the foundation's mission. That's FREDI thepizzaman.com. Together, we can make a difference.
Okay, 35 after the hour. It's been a great show. We really appreciate the involvement from you on the stream on YouTube and via text at Sports Radio 21,000, and of course on the phone calls on the Meyer hotline 866-838-4843. I'm not going to lie. I mean, that energizes Trent and I. Love the conversation, really important for us. The Crossover podcast we've had, we have a very good relationship with those folks. Love Lindsey Hunter. He's a good man. He's won 2 world championships. He's a guy who knows his basketball. He's been a coach. He's been a scout. He's done a lot of things in the game, and he knows what he's talking about. Tim Hardaway Sr. is a Hall of Fame player, one of the sickest crossovers you've ever seen. And I think he does a pretty damn good job of judging talent on the basketball floor. He's the one who said they should not trade Tobias Harris, for example. Tobias Harris is an important piece for this team moving forward. So I think there's a lot of things that those guys say, not that you can't disagree with them, but there's a lot of things that those guys say that make you think. Recently, from this week on Crossover Podcast, listen to what they said about, everybody coronating LeBron James as the greatest of all time and all these other things compared to some of the past players that they knew and or played with or against. Listen.
Okay, Dad, let me ask you this.
Yes.
Is Grant Hill and Penny Hardaway, you would put them over LeBron?
Yes, in their prime, yes.
Yes.
I'm taking both of them.
I'm taking both of them in their prime. I'll see you later.
Get up.
I want to see you leave.
What do you think about that?
I don't want to. I don't want to go toe to toe with Lindsey or Tim because they played in the league for a decade plus each. But
that doesn't always matter.
I mean, that's blasphemous.
Is it?
I think both are blasphemous. Grant Hill and Penny Hardaway, who have 0 combined championships, 0 combined MVPs, are better than LeBron.
Well, okay. Championships is a team thing. Okay. And to your point, neither one has won an MVP. Grant Hill's highest finish was third twice. Okay. But remember who Grant Hill was playing up against. I mean, Karl Malone and Michael Jordan finished ahead of him. All right. I'm not going to sit there and try to convince you that Grant Hill was better in his prime than LeBron James. Grant Hill was a better player than he gets credit for. He is a Hall of Fame player. Okay. Is it really blasphemous when you're saying one Hall of Famer is better than another?
Well, yes, because I think there's levels to it. But that's why I say I don't want to judge Lindsey and Tim. They played against both of those guys, right? Or I think
correct.
I don't think Tim played against LeBron.
No.
I could be wrong.
But
I know Lindsey did.
Yeah. Look, the common thought is that, first of all, I think Grant Hill and Penny Hardaway do multiple things differently than LeBron James. They're different players.
That's no doubt. Yeah.
And you know how I feel about LeBron James. I don't like him. Okay, period. I don't. But that doesn't mean I can't admit how great he is or has been. I think it's wearing a little bit. It doesn't help with the social media aspect. And I don't mean to blame everything on social media. I think it's a very positive thing at many times. More oftentimes than not, it's a real negative thing, especially for kids. However, LeBron James does a lot of stupid things. Case in point, I've never been a numbers guy. That's such bullcrap. If you've never been a numbers guy, don't send out an Instagram about your personal achievements with numbers associated with it. Don't be caught looking at a stat sheet while you're on the bench or while you're hovering over the official scorers table. Stop treating us like we're stupid. Stop saying, I've said this before when it's flat out a lie. Stop bringing up certain things that you yourself have contradicted. Stop talking about, you don't have a say in certain things with your organization when everybody knows that's not the case. Okay. That doesn't take away from the fact that he's a freak athlete and he's an all-time great player. I don't like admitting that, but it's true. Okay. You don't have to like the guy to admit that. Grant Hill was such a better player than anybody realized, especially at the time, because his teams stunk. And by the way, on top of that, that's a guy who played 79, 80, 81, 80, constantly led the league in games played in 1996. until he got hurt. And when he came back after getting hurt, 1 year in Phoenix in 2009, played 82 games and then 81 games and then 80 games. He was a guy, when healthy, would play and give you a ton of minutes. And he was a regular all-star. And he would cross over with some sick moves to beat Scottie Pippen and others. He's a lot better than people gave him credit for. And quite honestly, he could have been even more dominant if he weren't so unselfish. Because 1 year, when he finished third in the MVP, he averaged 21.5 points per game. And everyone was like, oh, but he also averaged 9 rebounds and over 7 assists. Now, I'm not saying LeBron James can't do that or couldn't do that, because he can. He could do just about anything he wanted.
He's done that. He's done exactly that before.
Yeah, sure.
2018 season. Yeah,
Sure
he should have
he
won the
has.
MVP. And he
Yeah.
played 82 games that year.
Well,
the one time he did.
But should have won the MVP. There's a lot of people who say, well, this guy should have won this.
Yeah, okay, that's
Jokic
fine.
should have won it last year. Okay. Shaq should have won it instead of Steve Nash. That's a debate going on.
I got you.
and
I'm
on
just
and
saying,
on.
to your point
All right?
about his numbers, LeBron has done that.
But here's what Lindsay and Tim do on a regular basis if you listen to their podcast. It's not always about numbers.
Yeah.
If it were always about numbers, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar would have been the greatest player of all time until ... or until LeBron James passed him. If it was all about numbers, Karl Malone would be the third best player of all time. If it were all about numbers, then there's no question LeBron James would be. You know, if you want to get nitpicky about it, Jordan didn't go chase it. LeBron did. I'm going to go chase. I got to go here to win. I got to go there to win. All that other crap. Is he an important part of it? Absolutely. But he does that on a pretty regular basis. People view him, that again, doesn't take away from how great he is. They view him as a phony. Phil Mickelson in golf had that reputation. LeBron James has it too. And it turns veterans off. It turns the guys of past generations off. And then you have, not Trent, but you have younger people who say, well, he's the best player of my generation, so I love him. Best player of my generation. Do I have to love every single best player? Have some spine, have some original thought. Recognize everybody's got weaknesses. Recognize the weaknesses of this guy and how you wouldn't want those characteristics in anybody else. Again, doesn't mean that he's better than Penny Hardaway. Doesn't mean he's better than Grant Hill, or less, or is worse than, I should say.
My rebuttal to that would be, you're never going to find the perfect player. And I'm not suggesting you're saying you are, but
right.
So everyone's going to come with flaws. Are you willing to overlook the flaws for the greatness? And for me, with LeBron James, that's the case. I don't agree with everything he does or says. I'll tell you that right now. I mean, yes, he is phony with certain things and in certain aspects and certain quotes, and he opens his mouth sometimes when he shouldn't. But that's also
throws people under the bus on a regular basis.
But he's also dealt with more media scrutiny than any athlete ever. Any sport, any athlete ever. He was on the front of Sports Illustrated when he was, 16?
So was Bryce Harper.
Bryce Harper doesn't deal with half the media scrutiny LeBron does.
I'm not saying, okay, hold on a second. Part of the scrutiny he deals with is because he brings it on himself. Hi, everybody. I got a production company.
Does Bryce Harper
Hi,
not bring it
everybody,
on
I'm the
himself?
king. What's that?
Does
How?
Bryce Harper not bring it on himself?
How does he do that?
Walking into owners' meetings, walking into dugouts, whatever he does.
He didn't walk into an owners meeting.
Not an owners meeting. What was the story that happened last summer?
Major League Baseball commissioner came into his clubhouse
and called him out, right?
And he called the commissioner out.
Did he not take backlash?
How is that the same?
Did he not? It's not the same. I'm just saying. It's not apples to apples. It's never going to be because it's a different sport. But I'm just saying he got backlash for that.
Sure.
There wasn't 100% support for that, but he did that himself.
I didn't say there wasn't. You said there's more scrutiny. In the first example, you said he was on the cover of Sports Illustrated 16. I said, so was Bryce Harper.
And then I just said, and
you're trying to tell me that he doesn't have as much scrutiny, and he doesn't. You're right. And I said LeBron James brings it on himself by a lot of the things that he does.
And I'm saying by that logic,
and you've got other players, you got other athletes. They're scrutinized for sure. Just about every Heisman Trophy player is scrutinized. If you don't think Shaquille O'Neal was scrutinized, you don't think Kobe Bryant was scrutinized. If you don't think that Tiger Woods was scrutinized, absolutely they are. That comes with the territory.
Of course it does.
Whether he is the most scrutinized of all time or of his generation can be debated. He's one of them. There's no doubt about it. But he also brings a lot of it on himself.
If we could bring it back to a point you mentioned earlier where Lindsay and Tim on the Crossover podcast, they don't always just talk about numbers, right? And they're actually, they rarely do ever, actually.
Correct.
They talk about just, their experiences playing against those guys. They tell stories. That's where I will give them immense credit, and I think that they have every right to their opinion, of course, just like everyone does. But I just think saying something like Grant Hill and Penny were both better than LeBron, that's hard. That's hard for me to get around. But I respect it, and it's entertaining, and they do back it up. They have their point of view, and they have their defense.
Yeah, they're not they don't say it for clicks and all that other stuff.
This is not First Take.
Correct. Yeah. I just get
hell of a lot better than that.
Yeah, I just think there's a lot of people who, I'm not a flopper. I don't even know how to do it. That's a quote from LeBron James. And there's not a bigger flopper in the last 5 years. Okay. I just don't.
I get it. You don't like him. You don't like him.
But like I said, it's the stuff that he brings on himself. Okay. I always make the right play every single time. I don't have any holes in my game. Bronny definitely better than some of these cats I've been watching the league pass play today. I mean, it's those types of quotes that make you go, shut the hell up. You want to know why you're scrutinized? You're scrutinized because those are the stupid things that you say. Sometimes I watch my clips of myself that come across my timeline on social media. No kidding, because you're putting them out there, or your team is. The whole belief that, oh my God, that poor guy, he's getting scrutinized. Shut your trap. Stop tweeting.
I'm not saying poor guy. I'm just saying it's heightened because of how great he is. And he is going to get scrutinized more because of how great he is and how polarizing he is.
What I'm telling you is, I don't think he's scrutinized how great he is. That's where you and I differ. I think every great player does get scrutinized. I'm not going to doubt that. He gets scrutinized more because of how he acts and how he reacts to things, and how he is just incredibly hyperbolic and how he overstates so much. Okay. It's just the stuff that he says, it drives you crazy. Before the game even started, I said I was probably going to score 70 tonight. Who talks about themselves like that? Nobody. Let's get to the final results of the poll question, except for him. Let's get to the poll question. The poll question from yesterday was a good one, I think. Which free agent defensive end would you want the Lions to sign? Khalil Mack, Trey Hendrickson, Joey Bosa, Arden Key. So before we get to the final results, what did you vote?
I said Khalil Mack.
Okay.
Because I don't think it's going to take as much as a Trey Hendrickson would. What do you say?
That was exactly where I was going. Trey Hendrickson I would want.
Me too.
But Trey Hendrickson is going to require a long-term deal, and I don't want that. So Khalil Mack would be one of those guys. I think Joey Bosa would finish second for me. But anyway, my guess is most people would want Trey Hendrickson. What were the final results?
Yeah, it wasn't close. 62% Trey Hendrickson. 16% did say Khalil Mack. 12% Joey Bosa. And Arden Key did get 10%, Shep. For someone we thought nobody really would know who he is, he got 10% of the vote.
That's good. Good for them. Yeah. That would work. That would work. Somebody brought up this name to me. Kwity Paye. He's a free agent. Indianapolis. Okay. Played at Michigan. His sack numbers for this past year, nothing great. 8.5. Plays regularly. Doesn't get hurt. Probably save you some money. And probably be pretty good at. If you got, what would you want out of the opposite defensive end? I know we talked about Max Crosby earlier. What would be the number that you could live with?
You mean in terms of production? Or
in terms of sack?
7.
Sacks.
7.
Yeah, I was going to say 8. Yeah, okay. That's cool. And a guy like Kwity Paye averages 7 per game or per season. So, sweet. You could still have to, that wouldn't force people to buy season tickets.
No.
Kwity Paye. But the dude has been able to produce.
It wouldn't be going to get Zadarius Smith. It'd be a step up from that. You'd hope, right? Yeah. And you have to imagine if Kwity Paye can give you 7 sacks, that also means Aiden Hutchinson's going to up his ante as well.
You would think, and he's also a young enough player. He'll be 28 next year. Nothing wrong with that. All right, how about the Daily Wager, brought to you by our friends at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort and their sportsbook Ascend. That's got one of the best burgers you'll ever have.
Red Wings, Predators yesterday in Nashville. My brother went to the game, actually, because he lives down there. So he got to go see the Wings play. They don't come to town often. Yeah, he loves it. He loves it. Bridgestone. Pretty cool place. Cool. But I took the over 6 goals. It was 4-2 final, so I just got the money back. The rare push in betting. That works. No blood. But tonight, it's Isaiah Stewart's return. For him to score 10-plus points against the Cavs is plus money. It's plus 123. So, I mean, you win a little bit more than you put down.
I would take that.
I like it a lot. Yeah. So, Isaiah Stewart plus 10 points in his return. He's been off for like 3 weeks almost. If you think about it, because it was pre-All-Star break that the suspension even started.
He's going to be super fired up, but this is going to be a hell of a test with their bigs.
You can't come out over emotional. You cannot.
Yeah, unfortunately, we've said that about him for a while, and it doesn't, but it doesn't always matter. I mean, it's a really fine line for coaches. You know, you don't want to. I heard a coach one tell me, "I don't want to take the stallion out of him." Okay, you don't want to make him a horse who carries a carriage, but if you're the Mustang and you're going wild all the time, that's not helping your team either. So how do you reel in Isaiah Stewart and say, I want you to be aggressive. I want you to be tough. I want you to have that, go ahead and say it, grit, but you can't cross the line.
I guess this is why they call it gambling, because that is a gamble tonight.
It's a huge gamble. Well, I was going to say, I would go with you with the 10 points or more, but it's a huge gamble on him behaving the rest of the year. Let's face it. He does what he did in Charlotte. Whether Miles Bridges had a right to or not, he's not on the Pistons, so I don't care. He does that again, the league's coming down twice as hard on him, especially if it happened this year.
For sure.
He's going to get tested, man, and I'm sure he's ready for it. He's going to get tested. Other teams are going to try to push that envelope and see exactly how far they can get away with it. We'll be watching tonight for the Daily Wager and then some. Thank you for your calls, for your texts, for your inclusion on the stream on YouTube. And our thanks to Avelo Airlines for sponsoring this hour of X's and Bros. We'll be back with you tomorrow morning, 6 o'clock. Don't forget the Huge Show later on today from 3 until 6.
Huge here for Josh Garvey and his team at Dorn Mayhew, West Michigan. Now they continue to grow. They got